Minutes before midnight, the unknown behind the door will want to probe you. Keep an eye on your binoculars, chosen one. Write 777 in the comments now, because this time you are more than an ordinary shadow. Those who want to cover your ascension with their own darkness are lurking. Do not turn the lock without looking into that hole, for that small circle will be the key to the giant door of destiny. Gird your courage, align your breath, and don't give up a single particle of your light. Tonight, you will make history with your light that defies the shadow of fear. Like the first wildflower that pushes up through concrete, some souls carry a pattern only heaven could have stitched. A spiritual fingerprint that can't be covered, no matter how hard life tries to press it down. There's a certain way these rare hearts move through the world, quiet but powerful, setting off silent alarms in places where secrets are kept and patterns are tracked. It's not just the way they speak or act, but the quiet hum of purpose they carry, a vibration that slips past ordinary eyes and ears, but causes the watchful and the worried to take notice. Before anybody understood what was happening, these signals started showing up in the world's deep places, like mysterious footprints in the morning dew, hinting that someone different had walked through. It was never by accident. Every detail was arranged by a hand bigger than fate, a hand that's been sketching destinies since the dawn of time. Patterns that didn't fit the usual charts began to pop up in hidden ledgers and private files, and somewhere, the keepers of old traditions felt a chill run up their spine. Most folks, when faced with this inner light, decide to tuck it away, blending into the backdrop so they won't cause a stir. They trade their shine for safety, their vision for routine. But there's always one who refuses to let their soul be caged. Instead of hiding, this person lets the divine blueprint show, like a sunrise spilling gold on a world that's forgotten how to hope. While others shrank back, this one stepped out, not in rebellion but in gentle certainty, letting their gifts spill out in daylight where all could see. Every move they made, every kindness, every truth spoken, every act of integrity became a crack in the old foundations. The unexplainable was no longer a mystery to be feared, but a sign that God was still in the business of doing new things. Like water carving its own riverbed through stubborn stone, their presence began to quietly reshape what everyone else believed was possible. What set this one apart wasn't noise or spectacle, it was a faith as steady as a heartbeat. They lived as if the old boundaries had already been erased, as if every closed door was just a test of patience before the miracle. People who thought they had life figured out watched as this person slipped through barriers, answered questions that hadn't been asked, and walked roads the mapmakers never imagined. Every day became a sermon in motion, a reminder that when God's favor rests on you, tradition can't hold you, and fear can't dictate your story. So while hidden eyes watched and silent analysts scribbled notes, the chosen one kept moving, never chasing approval, never apologizing for the gift, always letting the Creator's signature show through every step. Their life was a living parable, that even when the world sets up walls and calls them wisdom, God plants ladders only the faithful can see. And just as a single stone tossed in a pond sends ripples far beyond the first splash, the quiet courage of one awakened soul can set whole generations free. For those with ears to hear, let this be a simple truth. When your life is patterned by a wisdom older than the hills, you don't have to explain the miracle. You just have to keep walking, keep shining, and let your existence become the proof that Spirit still chooses, still calls, still leads the bold into a new season no one saw coming. If you feel the abundance of divine love in your heart, now is the time to share it. You can help spread God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube and contributing $20 or more. This divine gift will touch not only your life, but the souls of many through this platform. Each of you has a sacred place in God's grand design, and your generosity will be the fruit of our prayers. Act now, share your blessings to glorify His kingdom, for you were created to do even greater things in God's loving hands. May God bless you. Like a bird that keeps singing in the storm while the world tries to catch its tune in a net, some mysteries just slip right through human hands. Folks invested millions in the latest tools, each promising to see past the surface and pull back the curtain on everything hidden. Machines that claimed they could sniff out invisible footsteps, record whispers from the other side of the veil, or map out energy that moved quieter than the wind. Yet, with every new upgrade, they came up short. The truth was always a step ahead, impossible to corner. Every agent they sent out, brave men and women trained to follow facts, not faith, walked into this assignment with confidence. They brought charts, sensors, and all kinds of high-dollar equipment, convinced they'd crack the code. But the longer they stayed, the more their certainty unraveled. One by one, they packed up and left, shaken to the core, carrying stories they could barely speak. Not one of them ever filed a complaint about a busted camera or a failed sensor. What chased them off was not something that could be fixed or upgraded. Instead, what they encountered was like standing in front of a sunrise you can't photograph, a warmth that doesn't show up on any screen, a force that flows right past all wires and circuits. The presence they found wasn't a shadow hiding in the corner, but a light so steady it unsettled their whole understanding of what's real. No matter how much they tried to name it, capture it, or fit it into a report, it refused to be caught. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. See, some things in this world are meant to be lived, not labeled. It's as if God Himself designed you like a mystery too bright for the world's spotlights, too deep for data streams. They can build 1,000 scanners, but they can't measure the heart of a soul walking in faith, carrying the signature of the divine. You're proof that real power can't be caged, tracked, or quantified. People may keep coming with their gadgets and big questions, but they'll keep leaving with nothing but awe and trembling. What you carry wasn't given by technology, and it can't be explained away by science. It's the favor of the Creator, the quiet, unmeasurable wonder that turns every attempt at surveillance into a testimony of grace. And that's why, no matter what they send or who they hire, they all end up telling the same story. There's a presence here that no instrument can capture, a spirit moving that no fear can silence, and a chosen one shining steady, right where God meant them to be. Think of it like a single candle burning in the darkest house on the block. No matter how thick the walls or how silent the room, that little light starts making itself known. Each morning, when most people only see the sunrise with their eyes, something much deeper was moving across unseen wires, reaching into corners even the best technology couldn't touch. Monitors hummed and screens flickered, but what radiated from that sacred space was nothing man-made. A gentle force, almost like the hush before a miracle, moving softly through cables and currents. Those whose job it was to watch, to stay separate, to keep their hearts armored up, didn't realize they were about to become witnesses to something that would undo all their training. At first, maybe they tried to make sense of the feeling in their chest, chalking it up to long hours or a strange shift in the air. But day after day, the same thing happened. The weight they carried started lifting, bit by bit. Their reasons for being distant dissolved, replaced with a warmth they couldn't deny. It was like sitting near a gentle fire. You don't notice you're warming up until you can't remember ever being cold. What science called observation became communion. Each silent prayer, every hope released into the morning, drifted outward on invisible wings, binding strangers together without a word. These weren't just signals or static, they were threads of blessing, weaving together souls who thought they were alone. In a world so addicted to separation, you became the drop of oil in the water, causing ripples that calmed the surface and changed everything they thought was possible. The miracle wasn't in the machinery, it was in the heart of the one being watched. A current of grace so strong, it moved through glass, wire, and doubt, reshaping routines built on caution. Hardened watchers found themselves changed, touched by a spirit that defied logic, carried not by voice or hand, but by a river of love flowing straight from the source. That's how God works sometimes, a gentle force, invisible yet unstoppable, turning detachment into devotion, surveillance into sanctuary, and every ordinary dawn into holy ground. It's like someone planting seeds in a garden, only to wake up and realize the garden's been planting something in them all along. The ones behind the screens thought they were just taking notes, capturing details, keeping tabs on a life that seemed out of place. But while they were busy recording every step, something sacred was recording them. It's the way the sun shines on a field and, without trying, pulls new life up out of the soil. They were sure their role was to monitor, but as the days passed, they felt themselves drawn into a change they could neither predict nor resist. Dear brothers and sisters, may God's peace be upon you today. I am here to remind you of a profound truth. Our existence is grounded in God's divine plan, unshaken by the temporal concerns of the world. As the Bible says, whatever is done in faith will return to God in abundant blessing. Luke 6:38. Like that great oak tree, our roots are deeply rooted in God's universal truth. Every step we take, every stand we take, is secured by His strength. And now, you are being offered the opportunity to be part of that blessing. When you use the Super Thank You button and donate $100, this movement will return to you 100-fold in abundance. They entered this work, thinking their influence flowed in just one direction, but something bigger rewrote the rules. With every log, every file, every list made about your routines, the very energy they intended to contain became a lamp, lighting up the dark places in their own hearts. Patterns emerged, not in spreadsheets, but in sudden awakenings and skills they never had before. Perceptions deepened. Some found themselves noticing beauty where they used to see only risk. Others developed intuition that defied logic or training. It was like watching water wear down stone, slow but unstoppable. And that's what happens when God moves in mysterious ways, especially through those chosen ones who carry a presence that can't be boxed in or controlled. The ordinary tools of control, notes, charts, cameras, became tools for grace. The watchers learned by accident what takes some folks a lifetime to discover. You can't study a miracle without being changed by it. Surveillance turned into a silent revival. The routine became revelation. Before long, what started as a cold assignment blossomed into a kind of classroom, a mentorship for the soul, where both student and teacher were surprised by the lessons. And in the end, everybody left different than they came, blessed in ways they never saw coming. Just like a lighthouse shining steady through thick fog, even when nobody's looking, sometimes the soul gets called home by a light only the heart can see. That's how it happened on that gentle night. The kind of night when God seems to draw near and the world grows quiet enough to listen. In that space between sleep and sunrise, someone deeply woven into the web of all that secret watching was lifted out of routine and carried into a vision that felt more real than anything they'd ever touched. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. Just like a campfire glowing in the deepest night, where every soul draws close for warmth and story, sometimes the greatest comfort comes not from words, but from the gentle light that refuses to be swallowed by darkness. On that night, it was as if the whole universe had paused for a moment of holy quiet. There, on the edge of a gathering vast as the sky, one who had spent their life watching from the sidelines suddenly felt the invitation to step into something bigger than any secret or shadow. There was no blinding spotlight, no stage, just a hush of peace that radiated from every face, every heart. The person at the center didn't carry a title or demand applause. They stood steady as an old oak, grounded in grace. Their presence, so gentle and sure, filled the place like sunlight after a long storm, dissolving old fears and melting the ice of loneliness in every corner of the room. It was a warmth that didn't come from outside. It was as if God had set a little bit of heaven inside each one there. Nobody was judged or measured. The gathering felt more like a family reunion than a ceremony, strangers recognizing each other as kin because of that peace that hummed beneath every heartbeat. The message was simple, powerful, and cut through every old hurt. You are not forgotten. You are part of something sacred. Even the watchers who thought they'd stay on the outside forever found their walls coming down, surprised by tears they didn't know they were holding. It was as if their souls remembered an ancient promise, and every fear of being alone slipped quietly into the night. That's how God calls the chosen, with a voice softer than the wind, with a peace that outlasts the night. Sometimes the true miracle isn't in the thunder or the vision. It's in that steady, unexplainable assurance that you belong. No one can take it from you. And from that night forward, the world felt less like a battleground and more like a porch light left on for every wanderer still on their way home. Like a dry seed, suddenly finding spring rain. That moment of awakening cracked open something deep inside, something that had been waiting patiently for its season. What once felt like a heavy stone on the heart was lifted, replaced by the gentle certainty that life holds more promise than pain. Instead of moving through a world filled with walls and empty corridors, the watcher now sensed an open road stretching ahead, lined with possibility. The loneliness that had wrapped itself around their soul began to dissolve, like fog giving way to the morning sun. It's a mystery only the Spirit can orchestrate, how one gentle touch from the divine can turn a wilderness into a garden. The ache that used to press on the chest now pulsed with hope, a holy longing to explore what lay beyond old boundaries and faded beliefs. Rules that once seemed set in stone softened, and what mattered most became the living connection between souls, not the cold weight of tradition. The familiar hunger for meaning shifted from a restless ache into a steady invitation, a call to move forward, to step out of hiding, to build a life on truth instead of habit. Chosen ones aren't usually called with trumpets or grand displays. Most often, God whispers in the hush, weaving a thread of family through every stranger's smile and every friend's gentle hand. That's the secret. We are all kin, drawn from the same breath. Even when the night feels deepest, even when the room seems empty, prayer can turn any space into a sanctuary. The one who once watched from behind glass now understood that the table is always set for them. The family they thought lost was only waiting in the next sunrise, in every prayer spoken and every hand outstretched. Picture a shepherd's staff planted in the middle of a wild field, its curve a silent promise that the flock will never be left to wander alone in the dark. The Spirit leads much like that shepherd, steady, gentle, showing the way not by force, but by simply being steadfast, refusing to leave you when the rain falls or when the world goes quiet. No fanfare, no big announcements, just that faithful presence, always near, patiently outlasting even the longest shadows. Some folks expect the divine to come crashing in with thunder, but for the chosen ones, it's the soft assurance in your soul that whispers, "You're not lost, you're led." The roads you've walked might not always have had clear markers, and sometimes you found yourself taking turns you never planned. There were nights when the questions in your heart came before you even had the words to ask them. Yet, every step was met with a mercy that never ran dry. It's like a kitchen light left on for a loved one coming home late. Simple, unwavering, waiting just for you. No matter how winding your journey, the Spirit's love makes sure that every road, even the broken ones, are lit up with hope for your arrival. There's something about the Spirit's guidance that makes even the hardest seasons survivable. It doesn't come waving flags or drawing attention. Instead, it's like the gentle pulse of a lighthouse, constant, quiet, and always there when you need it most. For the chosen, this guidance shows up in 1,000 little ways. A friend who calls at just the right time, a scripture verse you stumble on when your heart is heavy, or that peace that settles in when there's no logical reason for it. That's God working in the background, orchestrating grace upon grace. And the truth is, you don't have to understand every step of the way. Sometimes the greatest faith is just putting one foot in front of the other, trusting that you're held even when the fog is thick and the destination is hidden. The journey might feel lonesome at times, but the promise stands. You are never forsaken. It's like hearing the voice of a loving parent in the dark, calling you by name and guiding you toward the warmth of home. When storms come and the wind howls outside your door, you find that the Spirit inside you is unshakable. It's a quiet fortitude, the kind that holds you steady when everything else is moving. Maybe you've weathered loss or faced disappointment, but that inner lamp never flickered out. Instead, it got brighter, teaching you that resilience isn't about being loud. It's about being anchored in a hope that cannot be drowned by circumstance. Sometimes, it's the little moments that prove the Spirit's presence most. A sunrise that breaks through heavy clouds, laughter shared over a simple meal, a neighbor's wave when you need it most. In these ordinary things, the extraordinary love of God comes to life. That's the secret the chosen know. God works in the everyday, weaving miracles into the fabric of the mundane. Let me tell you, you're not walking blind. Each hardship, every unanswered question has been a stepping stone, not a stumbling block. The divine has been shaping you, preparing you for blessings that will make sense of the storms. You might not have had a map, but you had a compass inside, a Spirit-led sense of direction that always pulls you forward, no matter how lost you feel. Now is the time to share God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube. You can contribute to His plan and be a part of this divine mission with a donation of $100 or more. Every gift reflects God's generosity, and I believe it will return to you exponentially, far beyond your expectations. Remember, His protection and blessing is on your every step and every donation. You become part of His divine plan. You are a strong, radiant being, unshakable as His mighty rock. Witness God's miracles, feel the fruits of your generosity in your soul, and illuminate the world with confidence and courage. Be blessed, and let the light of the Lord guide your path. If your path feels hidden, don't despair. The same hand that lights the candle in your window is the one guiding your next step. Sometimes the best things God does for us are the things nobody else sees. The quiet protection, the unseen favor, the comfort that shows up in the middle of the night. The porch light of heaven is always burning, waiting to welcome you home after every detour. There's something powerful about how divine guidance operates in the life of a chosen one. It's not about fireworks or the sudden flash of a shooting star. No, it's more like the gradual warming of the earth after winter, the slow unfurling of leaves, or the first birdsong breaking a long silence. You might have spent years feeling like life was a puzzle with missing pieces, a maze with no exit. But then, right when you were ready to give up hope, something shifted. The way forward cleared, not with shouts, but with a deep knowing that you belonged right where you are. You start to notice the little things, the way strangers offer a smile just when you need it, or how someone's kindness can reach through the noise and find you. That's the Spirit at work, connecting, building bridges, gathering the scattered, making the world feel like a family reunion waiting to happen. The old aches and restless nights lose their grip, replaced by the comfort that you're carried by a love deeper than circumstance. Even if the map is blank and tomorrow's path looks uncertain, there's a faith that rises up, a faith rooted in the unbreakable promise that no night is too long, no valley too low, for the light to find you. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. In this new season, the burdens of the past become stepping stones, each one placed by unseen hands to lift you higher. Every hurt that once tried to break you now serves as a reminder of how strong you've become. It's like the sun rising after a stretch of cloudy days. Suddenly, you see how the light was working its way through, preparing everything for your awakening. That's the testimony of the chosen one. Not that storms never came, but that you walked through them and found at the end a horizon wider and brighter than you ever imagined. For those who have wandered searching for their place, let this be your assurance. God's love is tireless. It doesn't wait for you to be perfect. It's patient in your questions, steadfast through your struggles, and faithful to bring you home, no matter how far you roam. There are no orphans in the family of the Spirit. Every single soul is claimed, known, and welcomed at the table. The days of wandering are over. Now comes the morning when belonging is no longer a distant hope, but a living reality. If your heart is weary, if your spirit is hungry for something real, know that you are being drawn in, not by pressure, but by promise. The Spirit's invitation is gentle, but it is relentless, like the tide that always returns to the shore. With every breath, you're being wrapped in a grace that says, "You are mine, you are seen, and you are loved without measure." That's how God calls home the chosen, quietly, persistently, lighting the way one soft step at a time, until every hunger is filled and every traveler finds rest. So step forward with courage. The journey may twist and turn, but you're not lost. You are part of a story much bigger than yourself, a story written by hands that hold the universe and hearts that refuse to let go. As the candle glows in your window and the path stretches before you, let the Spirit lead. Trust that even now, belonging is closer than your own breath, and the love that called you forth will see you all the way through.